Okay.
Hey, it's Kyle at the Sort of Okay show about horses. Myself and my co-host, Snowy, who I've replaced Buck with because I find the commentary to be a lot more intelligent and
Hey, I'm
a lot
back.
more great. Oh,
Look at this thing. He's kind of cute. Not as cute as I am.
bye, Snowy. Apparently, Buck's back to the
Hey,
Sort of
guys.
Okay show about horses.
Did Snowy talk loud enough?
Snowy was about as loud as you are, so it was not actually that much use. Buck was at the Fork at the last show, so we did a little show with Snowy, and now Buck is back, and we're going to do a couple of little commentary things. One, how was the Fork? Was it?
It's a little disappointing. To be honest with you.
Improved, is what I heard.
The ground was very, very hard. Of course, maybe a little boring. But we're all home safely, and all the horses still together, so keep moving forward.
It's a little disappointing because it used to be one of the events that was always on the up and improving, and I thought it was going to be a fantastic show. I mean, they used to irrigate the footing. It was one of the last runs we always did before Rolex, and it was really worth doing. And then the last couple of years, I've been hearing that type of stuff, and this year there was a lot of people saying the same thing.
It was, a poor event. They seemed to get dumped on with rain, and then, of course, this year there was nothing, and so, the ground was concrete. But the one thing that the Fork had was irrigation and the aerators, but the irrigation, I understand, was broken, and the aerator was broken.
Yeah.
So bad timing for things to be broken. But nonetheless, I think people were, smart with their horses, and certainly, some of my horses didn't get the runs that they wanted, or didn't get to start. But doesn't matter. No excuses. Move on to Kentucky and see how we get on.
Yeah. All right.
And how about you with the Boston Marathon? That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can't believe you're actually walking. Well, you're not really. You're sitting.
Sitting.
Were you faster in that than you were in riding? Or?
I was much faster than that, but not saying much. But it was, it was a great experience. It was unbelievable. The support in the community and the people watching and the cheering and everything like that.
A sense of accomplishment, right? Like how cool is that? Like 26.2 miles.
Yeah, and
the .2 kind of sucks, too, right? I mean, you're like, come on, enough already.
The thing at Boston as well is that you have to qualify to get there, so you have to be fast enough to run there, and then everybody running. It was like running. I will say it wasn't my most enjoyable marathon because of the people, and it was also the coolest marathon because of the people. But it was a bit like running in the shopping mall, not just for the first sort of little bit where usually you break away, but you're running amongst speed people for quite a while. And actually I did a little video up there that we're gonna break to now, just sort of giving my thoughts the day after the marathon on how it relates to horses and everything, and have a watch, have a listen, see what you think. I mean, a few people might not be too pleased with my thoughts on it, but I think it does correlate very directly to our sport. Hey, it's Kyle Carter from Boston. My wife and I, Jen, just ran the Boston Marathon yesterday, and so he's here looking at the beautiful Boston Harbor and the city. It's just a fantastic location, and it was a great opportunity to do this. There was 30,000 people, 24,000 had to qualify on time, and then 6 on charity could run in it. So when you have that sort of number and every single one of them had to make a time qualification, you're obviously running amongst a bunch of good runners, which was very different from most of the marathons we've done. Usually there's a smattering of very fast runners and then people that just want to accomplish it for the accomplishment. So it was a really cool experience. It was a bit like running in a shopping mall at times because there were so many people in the race and so many speed runners basically, so it was hard to get ahead in the early sort of 5-8 miles because you were sitting there sort of jammed in amongst other people the whole time. But on that, the support from the community, I think every sport could learn something from what this sport has done in this area. All of the people that were volunteering, all the people that were watching on the sides, cheering people on. It started at mile 1 and it went all the way to the end. Sorry, we had a little break in the footage there, but it was a great experience with the community and what they put into the supporting of it, and just the spectators that they participate as much as they did was unbelievable. We'd been told that it was going to be a life experience run, and it certainly was. The hills were supposed to be a real issue. We'd been warned about that. I didn't find them to be that big of a deal, which I kept my pace a little slow to begin with, sort of in anticipation of that, because I was trying to make sure I had enough to finish. And once I sort of hit 20 miles, I realized that I wasn't going to be affected by the hills. We just don't have anywhere to train on the hills in Florida like a lot of places do. But as I was running those last sort of 8-10 miles, and usually in the marathons I do get thinking this way a lot about the horses that we ride in competition. And as I was running, we've been very busy this spring. We haven't had as much training as we would have liked to get here. Like I said, there were no hills for us to work on, so it was a bit of a risk in how we prepared. But the thing that occurred to me in those last 10 miles was how this is so similar to the sport that we do with the horses, and how people don't take it probably serious enough, that day-to-day effort that you put into an animal to get them ready for something. It's at the end of the competition. I coach a lot of people. We're at these competitions. I see people pushing their horses for time and really going after it every weekend that they're out competing, and they're going to show the horse, they're going to make that time, they're going to be competitive. And like I did with myself, I paced myself to make sure I had enough at the end. I knew I wasn't as fit as I probably should have been. It didn't affect me because I guess my base work has been good enough to get me through it. But I see people when they're training, I see people when they ride, and they do a little bit of work, and then they work on their gallop schedule, but they don't put the extra work in on the hacking and the day-to-day stuff. And I don't think they realize the compromise they're putting their horse in. So what I would love to see is riders have to put themselves in this situation a little bit more often, so you realize what it means. So if I had someone on top of me saying, okay, Kyle, so I missed my best marathon time by I think 8 minutes here, 7 or 8 minutes, but if I'd had someone on top of me saying, you're going to do better than that, pushing me and beating me and going and demanding more than I was ready for early in the course, by the end of the course I might not have had enough to finish strongly or comfortably. And I see that a lot in our own sport. Not that they're beating them around, but they don't realize what the horse is having to do because of the effort that's not maybe been done at home. I'm always really conscious about the fact that my horses get not just their gallop schedule. People always ask me about that. How many days a week do you condition and all that? But it's so much more than that. It's the building on the smaller stuff early in the year. It's the running the horse trials quietly so that then hopefully by the time we get to one of the big ones, the horses have such a strong platform and they've tapered and they build back up that on those days they're really prepared. And so that in that last 2 minutes of a big course, they're still feeling like they want to keep running. And I've always been very conscious of that because of the fact that I've always been a little bit taller than most of the riders I competed against, and so I feel I've always been a bit of a disadvantage that way. But the disadvantage has become a strength because it's made me focus more on how to prepare horses to that degree, and realizing that sometimes you've got to be there to encourage them, and sometimes you've got to be there to help them along and inspire them, and sometimes you have to be able to say, you know what, this isn't worth it, this is not the day to push on this. And I think too often we get involved in our own results and our own desires and our own importance and our own egos, and forget what we're actually doing is trying to finish with an experience that both the horses and the riders are better from and build on. And maybe it happens to be that day is your day and that weekend is your weekend. I've certainly had many of them in my life and I've been very fortunate that way, but I do realize as well that there's going to be days that are not as conducive to the result I would like, and I might have to modify and change my program. But I think the big thing is it has to become ingrained in the riders' minds and the up-and-coming competitors' minds that the competition is a result of the work you've done. And when you're asking the most of your horse at the end of a course, make sure that they've had the most work up to it that you can do with them, so that they can actually perform comfortably and finish strongly and be inspired at the end of it, so that they want to go on to the next one. And with Rolex being now 10 days out, I've got Parker running at Rolex, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm nervous because at this point he's 18 years old and he doesn't owe me anything. And I think the big thing for me now is to make sure that he continues to have fun at this stuff like he used to do. And I'm gonna go, and I know he's had all the prep work. He's had a great spring as far as his physical stuff, but I still have to go there and know that it might not be his day that day, it might not be my day, and my job is to show up with the best horse and try and give him the best performance, not to force the best performance, because in the end this is a partnership that has such a high value and emotion that I cannot jeopardize it without that. Anyways, I just, again, when you're out there and you're pushing yourself along here, it's always easy for yourself to go, for your inner demons to rise up and say, well, you know what, not today. You don't need to push that hard today. But in our riding, we have to be aware that sometimes we also have to say, maybe not today, and then at the same time be open to the possibility that greater things are either ahead of you or they're happening right at the time, and it's really about being in that present. Anyways, I just hope that, it gets some people thinking a little bit more from the perspective of the athlete underneath you. It is hard to know what they're doing. They'll feel themselves getting tired before you might. Some horses, you're going to get up, you've got to find your strategy about when they get tired and when you bring them back up to the rest of it. Do they go fast at the beginning? Are they the type that wants to go a little bit quiet at the beginning and build to it? Know your animal, know your athlete, be open to learning from them, because in the end of it, in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, whenever you're laying in bed at the end of your life and you look back, you want to remember the moments you had that had a real connection with the world around you, and our sport is fortunate that it can offer that. All right, thanks a lot for listening.
Interesting perspective that, I don't know that I'm going to be running the Boston Marathon because you have to qualify to make it, but maybe I can teach my horse to ride, or I can teach my horse to ride a bicycle around there. But anyway, you bring up some interesting points with your running, and I think there's some valid ones in there too.
Well, I think the thing is when you're in that much pain at the end of it, you kind of start to get a little bit, you get a little different perspective for sure.
So what do you think? Should you have had a jog on Sunday morning afterwards?
I would have passed for what we were going to do, but that, it is just that, is management of the athlete, and it's so hard.
Old lady sitting there going, no,
yeah,
do it again.
It was funny. We went to downtown to Fenway Park for the presentation and party at the end of it. It was incredible. Like, we got to walk on the field at Fenway Park.
Fenway Park.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. Like right up against the Green Monster.
Well, we do. Yeah. Okay.
But when we're walking around there, if people are walking around, my toenails are falling off. My feet are all bruised up. Guys, like pieces of their foot like sheared off from running all day because of what they, you might put your body through. But the difference is we as athletes doing that, we are putting ourselves in that, whereas the horse doesn't put its entry in. We have to make the choices for them, and that was sort of my point.
Yeah, but on that subject, for me, we can't make the horse do it. You know what? The horse is just as much a competitor as you are, or more.
Yeah.
And we have to be the ones to protect them from themselves. So,
absolutely.
Because they're the ones that would run with their foot half off.
Yeah.
And there's but at least you're making our sport look really good. And
I don't know about that.
Right now, I don't have any horses with their feet half off, so
no, things are looking good right now. So we got a couple of people that wrote fan mail in, so that's nice. We have actual fans. Yes.
But they weren't actually made to you, I think, probably.
All right. Okay, so we had a couple of suggestions for some future episodes, which we are going to cover in the future because they're great suggestions. One of them was wondering about working student positions and what we expect of our working students, some interesting stories, and right now there's a bunch going around because a bunch of people have been looking and picking up working students, and there's some fantastic stories that will be very interesting and very amusing to listen to. So we'll cover that at some point because I think we both have had a lot of experience, and I've been a working student. I don't think Buck's ever worked a day in his life, so I don't know about that.
Buck here, getting paid by Kyle?
Yes.
A lot?
So,
And then there's another one here talking about, making the sport safer and, what we can do with the cross-country course and all that stuff, and have a few opinions on that, and that'll be a good show one day too.
yeah, I think it's a good one. So Olivia, thank you for your suggestion.
And Sage.
Sage, right. And then we got one here that wants to remain anonymous. It was to me personally, and she's wondering why Doug and I have an unspoken disliking towards each other.
How do you know it's a she?
Well, I
think it's probably Doug.
It's probably Doug.
It's probably Doug Payne.
Well, I didn't know it was unspoken, really. Actually, I thought that we were both quite vocal. I actually don't, because the name's at the top. I actually don't have a disliking towards Doug. I just like giving people a lot of crap. So Doug is one of the people.
He doesn't like him.
Don't like him at all. Anyway, so we're not gonna actually be able to cover that one, but maybe we can make an episode of all people Kyle doesn't like, and that would be, well, I don't know if we have enough time.
Yeah, it's too long.
Anyways, so next episodes are going to be the reviewing of the Rolex riders. We're going to do them as a race. So we're going to stay a minute and a half, 2 minutes a rider. Try and be very quick, efficient. Our views on them, whether they're, whether they're there to win, whether they're there to compete, whether they're there to just play and have fun, or what. And
or we say the Boston Marathon.
Or they could do something like that. I had 4 things on my goal list this year, and that was the first one. I wanted to make sure I got that done. And the other 3 is one of them's going to Rolex, and I got an entry in, and the horse looks good right now. So then, if he gets through that, then I got 2 more behind that I refuse to put out there just yet. I want to get pregnant. All right, see you in the next episode.